Are you in the mood for some awful content? Content that's so ridden with cringe that you might as well be watching one of Logan Paul's diss tracks? You're in luck, because the transformed wife has social media. Now, if you don't know who the transformed wife is, you might want to click off this video, because honestly, you're better off not being aware of her existence. There's already so much trash on the internet, why expose yourself to more? And the answer to that is that school's out, it's a Sunday, and I have literally nothing better to do with my time. And as a 15-year-old with no life, regardless of the quarantine, honestly, I said, why not? So let's get started, shall we? I'm sorry that the tweet isn't going to be on the screen. I genuinely don't know how to do that, so if someone could tell me, that would be great. Here's the first one. What is the rule that women have in the church service? That's easy and clear as day. Let women learn in silence with all subjection. Then in parentheses, 1 Timothy 2:11. This is just plain ironic. Why is this woman who has a YouTube channel with a bit of a following, a Twitter account, an Instagram account, which these pages are all vomit-inducing, and a Facebook, why is she lecturing other women about being silent in the church? Now don't get me wrong, I fully believe that Christian women and women of all religions should be able to express their beliefs freely and openly. And that being said, I also have the right to review what they preach and call it all bullcrap. But I just find it kind of weird that she's over here scolding women, telling them they need to be silent in religious matters, while she's posting about religious matters, posting terrible things about religious matters all the time. You know, that's kind of a hypocrite. Here's the second one. Just the fact that Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi are furious at President Trump for no longer funding the World Health Organization proves he made an excellent decision. Ah yes, because cutting funds from the World Health Organization during a global pandemic is such a wise decision. Now, I'm not saying that the WHO is perfect by any means, but you would think that when a virus is spreading around the world, a potentially deadly one, that the World Health Organization would be the last thing the president would think to cut funding from, you know? Like, he couldn't have picked crappier timing. Like, the world is literally, like, in lockdown, and he's like, oh.
It's like, you know, the World Health Organization? We don't need that. That's cushy. No.
Oh god, this just gets worse. How come the doormat issue comes up when young women are taught to be obedient to their husbands, but not when they're taught to obey God, their boss, or their government? It's a way to water it down to make it look dangerous and obsolete. That's why. Okay, you can't possibly compare an employee-boss relationship to a marriage. Yes, your boss should respect you and treat you with kindness because you're a human being, but they pay you to work for them. You follow their instructions and do what they have to do because you signed up for the job and you're getting something out of it. Marriage could be, on the other hand, could be compared to a co-ownership maybe, where both people have equal say in the business or your family, but you can't possibly compare it to an employee-boss relationship. That is, the power dynamics just... Now, I'm not trying to hate on people. If you are in kind of a relationship like that and you want to be in one, maybe where one person's more submissive in the relationship and the other person's more dominant, that's fine, you know. I don't have a problem with that. You know, if you want to be led by somebody and, like, you don't feel forced in any way, then completely, like, do you, you know? But I have a problem with people telling other people that they have to be submissive or dominant in a relationship because of their gender. That's what I have a problem with. Also, it really terrifies me that she sees her husband as her boss, or the government, or as God himself. Those of you who have conservative Republican governors are blessed. This entire pandemic is showing the nature of the left, tyrannical in nature. Fear causes people to want to be controlled. It doesn't end well, women. America was founded upon freedom. Yes, good old America was founded upon freedom, which is exactly why I believe that women are submissive to their husbands and have no say in their lives whatsoever. But is she referring to, like, certain governors who are wanting to open up the country or open up their state specifically early? Because if so, this isn't some kind of liberal scheme to ruin the economy and keep everybody indoors and control everyone, especially not when people are unemployed and struggling to survive, frankly. People are relying on stimulus checks, which a lot of people had to wait for because the president wanted his signature to be on every one of them, delaying the arrival time, so smart decision there. But look, being inside sucks. I mean, not for me because I don't have any kind of social life whatsoever, so it's really no different, but I know that a lot of people are having a really hard time right now. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, you're in my thoughts if you're struggling, because thoughts and prayers after tragedy, that doesn't really do anything. All I can do is sit here and say, maybe if the government would have noticed that this was as serious as it was and taken it seriously when it first happened, taken precautions against it, we wouldn't be in this big of a mess. And maybe if the unemployment centers had technology that wasn't from 50 years ago, people wouldn't be struggling to get benefits right now. Literally, some people have called like thousands of times in like the span of a day because they can't reach the unemployment center to get what they need. But the fact of the matter is that if we just say, okay, this is too much, everybody go outside, we need to worry about the economy, then people are going to go outside, they're going to spread the virus because there's no vaccine for it yet, and it's going to be worse. Like, I know that it's awful, but the way we handled it is awful, but going outside is just going to make it worse. Honestly, Lori probably just said that because she wanted to go to church on Easter Sunday and was mad that those evil liberals wouldn't let her. Too many children are on anxiety drugs. They are rushed to school in the morning and kept busy with activities until bedtime. They need the free time to create, imagine, exercise, my cat, be in the fresh air, sunshine, and yes, even be bored. Being home with their mothers is where they belong. So, I don't think homeschooling is the worst thing in the universe. I know that a lot of people work better from home, they have schedules that public school just can't accommodate for, or it just plain didn't work for them. And I understand this matters, and homeschooling is absolutely your right. But it concerns me that she homeschooled her children because that she wasn't doing it because of any of those reasons. Yes, she thought that homeschooling was in their best interest, but she was doing it because she wanted to shelter them from the world or like outside beliefs. And that's terrifying to me because we've seen her beliefs, and childhood is such a vulnerable time in someone's life. Your brain isn't anywhere near developed, and you basically just believe everything that your folks tell you. I've been there, I've been taught some things that I had to unlearn from my childhood, and I did, but it's not great to teach them those things because her children, if they're being homeschooled, they don't have a lot of access to other people and other beliefs, and it concerns me because she's teaching them harmful things. She probably taught her sons a lot of misogynistic things. She probably told them that women are basically their property and that their wife has to submit to them in everything, which can lead them to not only being awful husbands, but also kind of getting into like a Stockholm Syndrome marriage, which I kind of think she might be a part of, honestly. Not only that, she's teaching her daughters, or I assume she taught them, that their only job in life is to stay at home, work in the kitchen, and make babies. And before anybody attacks me in the comment section, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a stay-at-home wife. I honestly don't care what you do with your life as long as you're not hurting anybody. If your family has the means for you to stay at home, that's what you want to do, go ahead. You have every right to do that. I'm not saying there's anything against that. What I have a problem with is people like her telling women that since they are a woman, it's their job to stay at home. They have no say in their life or their future. That's what I have a problem with. Why do you think God commands older women to teach young women to love their husbands? Because younger women tend to think that if they aren't feeling in love with their husbands, they must not be. They need to be taught what true biblical love is since feelings are fleeting. I feel like this is both a very strange and harmful tweet at the same time. I've heard this at church before and it never fails to confuse me every time. Whenever a pastor is like desperately trying to sugarcoat the whole wives submit to your husbands thing, they always say this one thing. They say, yes, women, you're taught to submit to your husbands, but don't worry because the man has to love you as well. And that's just so strange to me because loving your spouse shouldn't be a chore or like something that you're taught to do. That should just come naturally. I mean, yeah, of course you're gonna have your arguments and you're gonna feel like you're gonna feel irritated at the person, but if you need to constantly be reminded that you're in love with someone, you're not in love with them. And what if somebody's reading this tweet who's in an abusive relationship? They could see this tweet and think, oh, well, I don't feel in love with this person who doesn't seem to care for me. He shows me no affection and quite frankly treats me like elephant dung. But God wants me to stay with them, so I must. Because God called me to stay with this person, even if it's bad for my mental state and possibly even my physical well-being. Yeah, it's a bit of a dangerous message in my opinion. I don't think she was meaning for it to pertain to abusive relationships at all, but it could be taken that way. We keep hearing from experts that men are dying more than women from this virus. Interesting, isn't it? They are referring to males and females that are born this way, two sexes, the way God intended it to be. Reality is exposed in times of crisis. Okay, first of all, that's a really weird take away from that statement. You see here's like doctors saying like, oh guys, like men and women are dying, but for some reason men are dying a lot more than women from this virus. And she's over here like,
two gender, is that what you said, men and women? Checkmate, liberals.
But also, not only is that just transphobic and weird, it's also incorrect. So no, there actually aren't two sexes. There is male, female, and intersex. If you don't know what intersex is, it's basically when you have both female and male chromosomes or like parts. And there are a lot of combinations of chromosomes a person could have, not just XX and XY. But besides that, we know that gender and sex are two different things. And transgender has to do with gender, obviously. Now, personally, I couldn't care less how many genders there are. Some people that study the social construct of gender, and I'm not one of those people. So just tell me your pronouns and we're all good. Like, I really don't care. But I do know there's basic science behind being transgender. Yes, you heard me right, Lori, there's science behind it. Not that you believe in science anyways. But basically, men and women have different structures and functions of their brains. For example, a man would tend to have a larger cerebrum, cerebellum, and hippocampus than a woman. And a woman tends to have more volume and density in her right and left frontal lobes. What researchers have found is that transgender individuals have a similar brain structure to the gender that they identify as. So for example, let's say a transgender woman, although she was born biologically male, her brain structure is similar to that of the typical woman's. So she's quite literally in the wrong body. And I assume that is what gender dysphoria roots from. But again, I'm not an expert, so I won't talk about the experiences of a transgender person because I'm not transgender myself, so I don't know. I can only say that there is science behind it, and even if there wasn't, just respect people. It's not that hard. Just, like, don't be a jerk. We did it, folks. We survived the terrible tweets of the transformed wife. Now, what I find so strange about this woman is not exactly her basic beliefs, because there are a lot of Christian YouTubers on YouTube, and some of them, like God is Gray, for example, she's really good and I like watching her channel. She's a genuinely kind-hearted woman who just loves God. And then there are channels like Paul and Morgan, Girl Defined, this woman right here, who I think are more harmful. But those channels, Girl Defined and Paul and Morgan, although they have bad messages, they sugarcoat it a lot, you know? They try to make it seem less awful. It doesn't work that well because, we still know what they're trying to say. But the difference between them and the transformed wife isn't that her message is that much worse, it's that she's so blunt about it. Like, she makes no effort whatsoever to hide how she believes or sugarcoat her beliefs or anything like that. Take a shot every time I said sugarcoat in this video. And to be honest, that might be the reason why she started the channel, because she sees Christians who are like having the same message as her, but not as blunt, and so she was like, no, you're not being like strict enough about the rules of religion. And so I think that might have been why she started the channel, because she really wanted just to be blunt and problematic. But yeah, that's basically why I was talking about her, because it's not only is the content amusing because of how ridiculous it is, it's just also problematic, and I want to get it out there to tell people like, hey, what she's saying isn't true. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, if anybody actually does end up watching it, and please comment down below what you want me to react to next, because I have a lot of free time and my school is about to end, like for good, no online school, and yeah, I have nothing better to do with my time. Stay safe, y'all, and see you next time.